皆様、こんにちは。クロマティさんです。クロちゃんです。And welcome to クロマティチャンネル。Today, special guest teammate. No teammate. ごめんなさい。ね、巨人プレイヤーでしょ。セリーグピッチャーは8 years、8年、巨人でしょ。すごい、ハンサムフェイスでしょ。ちょっと高いね。tall ね。知ってる？知らない？アラゲーターね、大好きね。アラゲーター本当に大好きよ。ベア、アラゲーターでしょ。3 times でしょ。World Baseball Classic メンバーね、カナダ、チームね。80ね、本当にね、ティームメイトね、すごい友達、安倍さん。知ってる？ OK です。皆様、I want to bring you to クロマティチャンネルスペシャルゲストね。皆様、本当にね、よろしくね。Scott Mathieson! こんにちは、こんにちは、Scotty. How are you?
Hey, I'm good. How are you doing? Thanks for having me.
いいね、お久しぶりね。ちょっと待ってね、I gotta put my speakerphone on. 元気ですか？
元気です。
Oh, man, みんなね、寂しいね。Everybody miss you ね、Scotty. 本当にね。
I miss everybody over there. I miss baseball. I miss Japan. I miss the Giants.
Oh, okay. We'll get into that toward the end of this conversation. But, ね、みんなね、you got your Giants cap on, Giants shirt ね、you represented it. すごい、最高。So what are you doing now, Scotty, since your retirement?
Well, I'm home in Florida. I bought a boat. I've been doing a lot of fishing and doing a little bit of hunting. And I have a little farm here, so I've been doing some farming too.
Oh, what kind of farm are you doing? Chickens?
We have some corn growing. We have some vegetables. We have chickens, turkeys. You know, nothing too crazy.
So you have farmers market?
Starting to, hopefully soon.
Scott Mathieson Farmers Market.
Yep.
Okay, this is all right. Scotty, let's start the conversation. You got drafted by the Philadelphia Phillies, show in 2002. Is that right with the Phillies?
Yeah, 2002. A long time ago. I was a 17th round pick, not too high, and it was 10 years with the Phillies.
10 years with the Phillies, and you're from Vancouver, Canada.
Yep. Yeah, just outside of Vancouver, and I grew up all the way on the west coast of North America.
Vancouver is a beautiful city, man.
It is.
Fish, oishi, your food is oishi, right? It's delicious.
Oh, definitely. Yes, we have like a lot of Chinese influences from all around the world, and some of the best food, at least in North America.
So this Carl. But I was in Montreal, so with the Expos, I didn't go to Vancouver, but one day I'm going to visit Vancouver because I have some friends there, and I can't wait because the food is excellent. It's excellent there, the show.
Definitely.
So you went to Philadelphia Phillies, and your manager, Charlie Manuel, the show?
Yep.
Charlie Manuel, Nihon, Japanese, played in Japan for what team did Charlie Manuel play?
He was with the Swallows.
I played for Yakuto, so this guy. Yep. Did you talk to Charlie Manuel about Japan a little bit before your decision?
I did. Actually, I heard a lot of stories from him before I even, talked to the Giants. When I first got called up, he always talked about Japan, and he referred back to Japan quite a bit. He loved his time over here, but then when I ended up signing with the Giants, he was one of the guys I reached out to, and, even a couple months ago, I still talked to him, here and there, and he still talks about Japan and loved his time there.
Yes, he always, whenever I talk to him, he always talks about Japan and what it means to him. And I think it means to not only him, to you and myself, how much it's going to be a part of our lives, our family lives, our children's lives growing up here.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I mean, for me, I started my family in Japan. Both my kids were born over there. It's, it'll forever be ingrained in my, in my life.
Scotty, when you started playing for the Phillies, you had a couple of setbacks. You had a couple of elbow surgeries,
I did. I went through 3 elbow surgeries.
3?
Yeah, 2 Tommy Johns and my ulnar nerve moved. So it was a long road. It happened. I actually fractured the bone, and that's what caused me to have my ligament reconstructed. And then when I had my ulnar nerve went, they had to just redo everything after that. So it was a long road back. And, you know, after I came back from that, I was kind of that up and down player. And, you know, I got that opportunity to come to Japan and almost get a refresh and a restart.
Well, that's what I want to talk to you now. From the Phillies, and you didn't really get a chance to play a lot. You played like, what, 16 games, 16 games, something like that. And you had to make a decision. And you made this decision to come to Japan. How did that happen?
I got a call, and I was told, you know, I have good news and bad news for you, Scott. And you're not going to be with the Phillies next year. That's the bad news. And the good news is, you know, you have options. And San Diego is one of the teams. They said, you know, we're going to leave it up to you, but you can go to San Diego or you can go to Tokyo. And, you know, right off the bat, I was like, well, San Diego, guaranteed major league deal. You know, I'll go to San Diego. And, you know, that's when Scott Profok, who was assistant GM for the Phillies, and Charlie Manuel, and they said, well, don't rush into that. Let's talk about Japan first. And, you know, they told me about it a little bit, and I talked with my wife, and I was like, you know, it's an opportunity to travel, to see the world, and have a fresh start. And, you know, I was like, let's do it. Let's try Japan. You know, if it's 1 year, 2 years, or 8 years.
I want to follow up with that question. You said Japan. What did they tell you about Japan, and how did you become a Tokyo Giant?
Well, there's actually a few teams were talking to me over there. Was Bay Stars and the Fighters in Tokyo. And everybody I talked to said, you know, the Giants, they're the team. That's, you know, if you're going to go do it in Japan, do it with the Giants. Like, you know, that's where you want to be. And at the time I was talking to Shun and a few of the representatives from the Giants, and, you know, it just, everything seemed like it fit well. And it was kind of that exciting, you know, it was almost like getting drafted all over. It was that, you know, I felt like a refresh, excitement. And, you know, I had to go with it. And to this day, I'm, you know, glad I did.
Did you ask any questions as far as the Japanese style of baseball? I mean, how did you prepare for the style of baseball compared to the major leagues?
Everyone I talked to, I tried to talk to players who played over here for multiple years, because I didn't want to talk to anybody who, you know, essentially failed and didn't play for a long time. And everyone told me, they said, you can't prepare for coming over here. The biggest thing you have to do is just be open-minded and be accepting. And, you know, I always thought, you know, I've already made that transition from Canada to, you know, America, which is not as big, but it still is a transition. And, you know, I came down very open-minded, excited to play. And, you know, I thought I'd love to do this again and challenge myself.
You chose the Giants, you know, of course, with the history. You stayed there 8 years with the Giants, and I stayed with the Giants 7 years. So you and I have a lot in common. So obviously the Giants made a situation very comfortable for us to play. And, I mean, it was just the Giants are like the Yankees or the Dodgers all in one team, right?
Yep. Oh, 100%. And, you know, for me, I love the Giants because they expect to win every year. It's not, we're going to rebuild, you know, yeah, we might rebuild, but we're going to win still. You know, they expect to win. And, you know, I was fortunate in my 8 years, we won 4 championships. You know, 50% of the time I was there, we were champions. And it was one of those, I love baseball, and I don't want to be on a losing team. I want to be on a winning team. I want to be on a team that's always striving to be better. And, you know, I thought, what better way to challenge myself than try to play for the best team?
No doubt about it. Playing for the Giants, that pretty much made my decision, playing for the Giants. I had Sadahara O as manager. Last year, you had Hara as manager. You played with some good players on your team. Tomodachi. You have some Tomodachi with the Giants. Which one of these Japanese players helped you out the most?
I mean, it's pretty simple. Abe helped me out the most.
Abe-san.
When I first came, you know, he was my catcher. And he was the captain. He was the leader. And when my first year in 2012, you know, seeing him play, it was unbelievable. I was dumbfounded why he wasn't in the major leagues. And, you know, at first I didn't realize how good baseball was in Japan. And I just saw this guy, you know, killing everybody, home runs, power, catching, like he did it all. And it was one of those like instant respects when you meet him. And, you know, he kind of, he he gave you that confidence behind the plate. And, you know, he was confident, so you kind of gave it to me as well. And he always helped me out. We talked a lot. And right until, you know, my last days in Japan, you know, we became good friends, and we'd always talk, you know, even after he was done catching, when he was at first base, he'd come over to the mound. And his big thing was always tell me like 80%. He'd always tell me like, your 80% is all you need to do to succeed here.
So in other words, did he ever used to write something on in his hand and tell you this all the time?
He used to write it in the air. He'd always go like draw an 8 and a 0. And, you know, he'd look over at me and draw the 8 and the 0, even at first base, and start laughing. And, you know, just to try to calm me down or have me slow down. And, you know, I think he knew my style was, you know, full blast, 100%. And it was trying to slow me down.
You know, I had an opportunity the first time meeting Abe last year, because you and I were together last year with the Giants.
Yep.
We drive to the ballpark together. We do a lot of things together. And I got to know Abe-san a little bit. Abe-san is real different. I think he's very open-minded as a baseball player. He sees the difference between Japanese baseball and U.S. baseball. And I'm going to ask you the same question. What is the difference between Japanese baseball and U.S. baseball? And you can get into the pitching a little bit if you want to.
Well, in my mind, I mean, obviously Japanese baseball they break it down a lot more. Where in the U.S. I think it's more power. It's more, you know, you hit to get to second base. You hit to drive a run in. In Japan, it's base to base. It's, you know, it's playing the game, in my mind, the right way, the old-fashioned way. And fundamentals. It's making that play. Where in the U.S., I hate to say it's lazy baseball, but it's getting that way. Yeah, it's just, you know, it's a different game now. It's all about power. It's about throwing 100 miles an hour. It's about hitting a ball 400 feet. It's about, you know, they don't bunt, they don't steal. You know, you don't hit singles, you don't move runners over. You score runners, you don't move them over. And in Japan, it's all fundamentals. It's, you know, it's breaking everything down. And, you know, for a lot of foreigners, it's tough to handle because you got away from that. It's going back to you know, your roots of baseball. And spring training, you know, you have your PFPs for an hour, 2 hours, and you're going over everything. You have 2-a-day practices. It's a lot. But in Japan, I found that they always strive to get better. You're always working, and that you always have a coach helping you or going over video with you. And sometimes it's infuriating and it feels like it's overkill, but it's all in good heart and it's all to help you. Where in the States, I felt like once you passed AA, it was, okay, you're here for a reason. Show us why you're here. You know, it was never, if you don't do well, you got to figure it out on your own. You had just mentioned PFP. Can you explain to the Japanese people who maybe don't understand what PFP means? Yeah, pitcher fielding practice. Fielding practice, PFP. Okay, this is what you learn on Cromatie channel. We educate you also on Cromatie channel, PFP. Yeah, pitcher fielding practice in spring training or before a game. If you see the pitchers taking ground balls, that's PFPs. Okay. You know, you have a hitter that you face for the DNA Yokohama Bay Stars that you have now. He's over in the major league. Tutsuko, the left-handed hitter for DNA. You faced him here in Japan last year. Now he's in the major league. Give me your opinion, what you think, how he will do in the major leagues. I think it'll be adjustment, but in the small parts of spring training we got to see, we got to see his power, and he came prepared. He's excited to be here. I think you're going to see power from him, and I think he's going to surprise a lot of players and do quite well, or a lot of people and do quite well. He's right here in my backyard, so I'm going to get to watch him quite a bit. How many home runs do you think he'll hit after he gets adjusted? In a full season? Yes, 100. Well, 50. Well, in a full game, 162. Yeah, I think he'll hit 30 home runs. Whoa! I think that he has a chance to do that. Whoa! Yeah, I feel like the ball in the major leagues has a little bit more bounce to it or pop to it, and it's a bit more of the power game, and he's going to see more fastballs. I think his first year he'll be in the 20, high teens, 20 home runs.
Yeah.
And I think before his career's over, he's going to hit over 30.
Okay. You would know more because you faced him. You know his swing, you know his weak points and his strong points. So that's a great assessment here. You also played with a couple of Giants players. In your opinion, give me who you think can play in the major leagues from the Giants players you played with last year.
Sakamoto would be an all-star second baseman, in my opinion.
Sakamoto would play second base in Dai League. Okay.
I think if he went to the major leagues, he'd be a second baseman, and he'd be an all-star. He'd be, one of the best in the major leagues. I think Sagano, if last year was a down year for him, but I think when he's on his game, he's as good as anybody. And I think we'll see him in the major leagues. I hope we do, at least, and I think he'll do all right.
Well, he's definitely coming around. This year is the real big year for him, Sagano-san. And he knows he has to pick up the slack a little bit, especially from last year. A lot of scouts are watching him. So you think Sagano-san will be, how many games do you think Sagano-san can win in the majors?
Oh, I think it all depends on what team he's with. I mean, that's a hard question. But if he's with a contending team, he's gonna win over 10 games. I mean, I think he'll be close to 15 wins. 15
wins?
Yeah, that would be my guess. If he's with a contending good team, a playoff team.
If you had to tell Sagano the adjustment that he has to make, what would be the number one point you would tell Sagano-san to prepare to come pitching from Japanese baseball to Dai League style?
I think that he can pitch with his fastball. And, I think sometimes he would get away from it and he'd try to be too fine and he tried to be too good. And I think my thing for him was just, trust your stuff and go after guys. Don't be scared to get hit. Because, in Japan, he wants to be perfect every time. And you come to the U.S. and you're not going to be perfect every time. But, it's okay to give up. It's okay to have a 3 ERA over here.
Well, I think hopefully this video that he'll get a chance to watch this Cromartie channel and listen to you, what you're trying to say to him. Hopefully he can take that and use that, especially this year and going into next year. He's going to not be able to eat before the games like he does in Japan. Because in Dai League, you eat after the game, not before the game. And I understand he lost a little. Look at that. That's you. Guess how many pounds is that? Sugoi! Till the next time here on Cromartie Channel! 気をつけて